Unmuting everybody. All right, we're live on the semi-pro call. Can you guys give me an audio check?
Hey.
Hey,
Check,
everybody's here.
check.
Except for
Hey.
Zach. Zach's still logging in. So this week, last week we had a real open-ended kind of conversational call. And this week we've got a little more structure. Eric put together a little more structure for us, which I'm horrible at. And Frankie too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to tell
He's a
us
liar.
what the topic is? I know it has to do about money.
Yeah. Well, we obviously put together some structure so that we could just know what we're talking about, but we can kind of like segment out into different things if we, feel it's necessary. But let me pull up the information for that.
Oh yeah, let me throw up the title card. Let's see if this works.
All right.
Well, bam.
So today's topic.
Altruism versus capitalism.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is working. I think it's working, but you never know.
Where are you taking questions? Yeah.
I'm gonna wait for it to pop up on that screen.
So
There's quite a delay.
we can kind of just go over what the point of this is. I think when I was thinking about this week, it was more about like I have trouble being like giving away stuff for free. And I don't know how much of it I can give away for free. You guys know what I mean? Like there's this intrinsic nature like that. I guess I might just be one of the only people here that has it. But if I work with someone who's like a small business and I know they don't have a lot of money or their budget's a lot tighter, like I do bend over backwards in a lot of ways to try to meet them there and see if I can still work out a way to work with them. And I find myself kind of negotiating beforehand or like saying like, oh man, if they can't afford this, maybe they can afford this much. And I'll cut my rates before I even like bring up the topic of the money. Right. So I don't know. I feel like most of the people that do these design work like freelancers and solopreneurs, they're not working with Fortune 500 companies. You can't come in there and be like, hey, I want 10K, I want 20K for a design or branding, branding identity because they just can't afford it. And I always felt like when we're in the future group and people are saying, oh, we quote 10K, it seems like it's this norm for everyone to just say like, yeah, that's the price. But I found that the people I want to work with, sometimes I really want to do the project and the money isn't there. So at what point do you guys feel like it's like detrimental and how do we kind of get around that?
I know for me.
Oh, go ahead, Frankie.
No, I was going to say for me, I look at it two ways, right? One, it's positioning, right? If you're looking for a certain type of client and you're not getting them, maybe it has more to do with you than it has to do with them. So maybe you're not positioned correctly. You need to get to the kind of bracket or the kind of client that does have the money that you're looking to receive and that they have the experience to know, hey, this money is going to be worth the design vice. I only have a little bit of a budget and I'm not really sure what I want to spend it on. But the other thing there is I know, especially for you, that you have this personality that you just want to help, right? I think we all kind of have that. Again, that's like why we're here. And with that said, I have that too. And I have to be careful of my time and like the job can't cost me money. As long as those two things don't happen, I look at it as like, hey, I'm going to take this on as like on spec because I don't know if it was on the future or where I heard it, but as far as like the whole like discounted rate thing, they say you either do it on spec, you do it totally for free, or you treat it just like any other job. Like, cause anytime you make a concession and you like go half it, like, okay, I'll give you a break or I'm going to do less than I think this is worth. It never works out because you're still kind of getting paid, but you're not getting paid enough. And they're still demanding, or they still want the work, like they're paying the full price. So you're kind of in this like purgatory of design and no one's really happy when that happens.
Yeah, I get that. But like sometimes the budget that they can't afford to pay you, it's not like out of the realm of like, it's not a good amount, right? Like, for example, if a client says like, oh, I want a brand identity done. And I, bless you, man. I quote them 10K on it. And then they come back and say like, dude, that's a lot of money. We don't have that money. We're like a small business, like a family shop, right? And they say like, we can do like 5K, right? Then I like, see, that's what I'm wondering is like, is that too much of a cut in my rate for me to say like, okay, I'll accept the 5K and do the work? Or should I just tell them like, okay, we could just do it as spec work because I want to help you out? You know what I mean?
I think
Where's the threshold?
I think if you take it at 5K, but it's something that's worth 10K, you're already like, we're going to run into a problem at that point because it's half of your rate.
Yeah, that's a big discount.
For what you quoted the work, right? So, I mean, and I'm assuming, you know, you're a heads up guy. You're not just pulling these numbers like from thin air, right? You're not just like today, 10K. You know, there's a reason behind it. There's work. There's the value. Whatever you do, value-based pricing. If you price it out based by, you know, time and however you want to price it. But I think if you make that concession, that's like Mike said, that's half. So really, I mean, you're not setting them up for success because you're going to give them, like, you're going to make it unfair almost, right? Because you're still going to do $10,000 worth of work, but you're just going to give it to them for $5,000 essentially. And I mean, if you can still cover your bills, and I know people have issues with like, man, I need to eat this week, or I need to keep the lights on. Like anything is better than nothing, right? Like 100% of zero is still zero. But it's a slippery slope, man. You make one concession, you make another and another, and then, you know, maybe holding out for that one project that's worth 30K, and, you know, you're getting your whole value is better than doing, you know, 6 projects at 5K or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I get that, but it's like easier said than actually practiced. Do you guys, you know what I mean, right?
Everything is.
Yeah. No, because
pretty much.
Like to me, if a client, like let's say a brick and mortar shop, you know, family owned business, they want to pay me 5K to help them with identity branding, right? Like it's enough money where I feel like I can be invested into the project. But then if I say that and I normally quote people 10K, it does feel like it feels like I'm doing a disservice to other designers, not so much myself. Does that make sense? Like I should be quoting more.
It does, but why would you quote $10,000 and then accept 5?
Because he wants to help.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like enough where I can be invested, right? Like the money amount is like, okay, and I can still help these people. Okay, all right, fine. Let's say that that's too much of a discount. So what are some like practical things that you guys would suggest that I could do to kind of mitigate that cost?
I got something. You could give them a discount and allow you to put the whole process from beginning to end on social media.
Okay, so you get value back from just the content that you're creating.
I don't know how much of a discount that would warrant though.
And that depends on what stage you are in your business. If you're starting out and you need the case studies, then it might be worth it for you. But I think it comes back to intent.
That's true.
Why do you want to take on this project? Like, is it a family friend or whatever? Then it doesn't really matter about the money. It's like you're doing it basically as a favor, as a friend or family, whatever favor. Then it's whatever they can afford. I think that's fine. But when you start discounting for people or businesses that you don't know, and that intent is not there, you're not running a business then, I don't think. I think, I mean, it depends too, like in the state of your business. Are you in a place where you need to eat and, you know, you haven't had business for months and months? Then I think you take what you can and suck it up. And so you can make it, extend your runway and feed your family. But if you're trying to build a business, I think you have to, I want to bring it back to like value-based pricing. Like you have to bring it back to what value are you bringing your client? And if it's a small mom and pop shop and they're making 100K a year, then it's hard to charge, you know, 30% of their annual revenue to do strategy. Right. And it doesn't make sense. So you have to decide at that point, am I the right person for this project or not?
Angel says if she wonders if this ties into something culture based.
For
For
Or
at least
specific,
for me,
right?
yeah, because I do think it does a little bit because
I think I think it does.
yeah.
But you mentioned value-based pricing, right? You know what I was thinking about, Dave? What about like on the flip side? What about like value-based buying? Like I don't know if that's a term or not, but like we should think about it like we're trying to have empathy, right? So like this person is trying to buy from us. They're buying for the value. Like we price the value we think the job's worth. Well, they're buying at the value they think the job's worth at the same time on the opposite end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that has like something to do with it. Maybe it's not just the budget, like, cause I don't see creatives fields are one of those like weird areas, right? Because you don't go into like, even in a car dealership, like I just bought a car the other day. I didn't go in and offer half what the car was worth. Like, yeah, I tried to talk the guy down and we got a good deal, but I didn't go in there and try to buy a $40,000 car for $20,000. So I think there's like some kind of either disconnect or like lack of understanding when they go to actually buy. Like David was saying, that just might not be the person for you, I guess. Maybe that's just something that you should avoid instead of making the concession. Or like we said, if you have to take it, then you have to take it.
But I think aren't you talking more about like, if not if you need to take it, but because you want to help them, because you like feel an overwhelming amount of empathy for them, right? Enough to discount half. Some kind of connection or something.
It's not always like empathy. I also think it's a part of it is maybe you really like the idea or the product, and you just feel like, you guys know what I mean, right? It's kind of like if you said I was gonna run. This is the worst example, but let's say there was a tournament, like a basketball tournament, right? And everyone there is gonna be 5 feet tall, and and if you're allowed to play and you realize that you'll have a foot on everyone, right? Wouldn't you kind of want to do it just so that you could get that advantage, or like, you could win that, right? So sometimes say, you go in there like 5 kids are playing basketball, you slap every shot in the air. But I mean, you can kind of like dominate, so that there's an opportunity to show your worth.
What about
right?
equity then?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about too. Like, there are definitely creative ways that we can mitigate that, and I think you said the content thing is one way. And for me, the way that I've been kind of meeting that middle ground is to tell my clients that can't afford the full rate. I say like, look, if you have 5K only and I charge 10K, I'm giving you a 50% discount. So as I'm saying this, like I'm bringing this topic to you guys, kind of knowing a little bit of how to maneuver around it. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because it's something that I did struggle with for a really long time. Because when you're a freelancer or a solopreneur, and you graduate from college and you're looking for your first job, and people are kind of like undercutting your price and telling you it's only worth a certain amount, but for sure that you can bring value to them. Like, how do you kind of mitigate it for the person that's buying from you, right? So for me, if a client can only afford 5K or 3K of the payment, right, and that's like a 50 to 70% discount on my normal rate, then I'll usually say like, what if we do like, and this is why I'm asking you guys for other options, because this is the only creative way I thought about it. Like, give me an equity stake in your business, right? Whatever we mutually think is worth that kind of time that we're putting in. Or I'll tell them, what if we get profits off the royalties until you meet like a certain threshold. And I think that's like a good way to think about it, because we don't, designers don't really think about the business sense and just kind of say like, oh, here's a flat price, and they just cut their price, but they don't look for another way to mitigate their losses. So yeah, I mean, I'm asking you guys if there's any other way that we could do, kind of meet those clients in the middle, because I don't think that we should punish those clients, because if we believe in the project, of course, because they don't have like cash on hand.
Yeah, equity sounds great in theory, but I think if in practice, especially if you're working with a lot of startups, it becomes a risk thing. If you're thinking about it in terms of like what's in it for you in the long term, because of all the startups that actually make it, like Zach works with a lot of startups, you would know the majority of them fail. So your equity is the percent, like
making money off of equity are astronomically low.
Yeah,
right. right now I've had experience in that. It's just not gonna happen. Very rare.
Very rare. Yeah.
Darian said he did a lot of jobs for free and turned down a lot of people that couldn't pay him during his early years. And when he decided he had an MLE, and he says he kind of wishes that he had asked to do the jobs at their rate starting because he earned less than 5K in the first 2 years.
Well, I think David, talked about like, where are you in your career? I think that goes a long way on like how you handle value-based pricing and what you're charging. Because if you're just starting off, then maybe David said, like you need to pay the bills and put food on the table. So you got to do what you got to do. But then hopefully at one point you're hitting a level of your career where you have a runway, you can start saying no. Or if you want to say yes, you have maybe a network of people that you could rely on to do some jobs that maybe aren't at the level you want it, financially. So, it just is, I think it's gonna be different for every person at every stage, and in my opinion, it's complex.
I keep thinking about the other side, right? Like, what if you approached it, and this is just food for thought. I don't know if it's the right answer, but someone comes up to you and, or I go up to Eric and I'm like, hey man, I really can't make my rent this month. Do you mind if I charge you an extra 5K on top of this logo design? Like, doesn't that just sound absurd? That's what I hear when someone tells me like, I can't pay what you're asking, even though I agree with you that it's valuable. Can you take $5,000 off? That's why it's hard for me to, like, I have empathy, I do, but that doesn't mean, especially like with a family, with obligations, and because I know the work is worth it. I think it's a value thing, like a self-worth thing. And you are incredibly empathetic and you want to help people. And I admire that a ton, but man, it's a really hard decision. And I think that's why I'm having a problem kind of like flipping the way that I'm looking at this, because that's literally what I hear when someone says that to me. And maybe if you frame it like that, hey, I would love to give you, this discount, but I already gave you like a fair price, or I don't up my prices so that I can bring them down, that the price is the price, and maybe look for those other ways. But if they're not going to return the favor and throw on an extra 10 grand when you're having like a problem, then it's really kind of a moot point to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's also the element of when businesses, especially small businesses who haven't been in business for a long time, they tell you we can't afford it. Doesn't actually mean that they literally can't afford it. It means that they don't think it's worth paying whatever for that particular thing, because they've never done strategy. They've never gone through, that sort of process. They've never done a major rebrand or whatever. So for them, it's like, what? I'm paying $10,000, $20,000 for a logo? Like that seems absurd, but they could be making $4 million a year. And so they have, it's not that I find that it's not that they don't have the money. It's that they don't value that. They're not used to putting that sort of number to that proposition.
I got a question. Follow up. We talk a lot about like MLEs, and I think everyone in this group kind of charges around the same amount in terms of minimum level, right? But at what point, at what skill level do you guys think that you can charge at that kind of rate? Or what justifies that? Like, how do we tell someone who's a designer that just got out of college, right? You should charge X amount because your work is more valuable than what you're pricing at. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Because a lot of the issue, I think, comes with there's no like standard rate that we kind of look at. I think every career other than design or creative fields, there's like a baseline salary or a baseline rate that people get paid. But with our field, it's nothing like that. It's just kind of like up to the designer or the creative firm to decide how much they want to charge for something. And I think that's the problem in terms of like other people understanding what our value is monetarily.
Are you asking how do we figure out our own value, or how do we convey the value to other
No,
people?
no, no. How do you like yourself figure out I'm worth X amount of money an hour, or I'm worth this amount of money for a project? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people come into the, the pro group and say like, hey, they hear like Chris or someone else talking about like, you got to charge like, $5K for strategy, $5K for identity design. And they just walk around saying, hey, 10K, 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 10K. And then you look at the quality of the work sometimes and it's like, is this really worth 10K? Are you guys really offering value to the clients? Like, how do we know, or how do you differentiate that?
Differentiate the work or
work that's worth that 10K and when it's not?
He's asking, is there an absolute scale to evaluate this design, merits this dollar amount? Or I don't think there is. I think it's the market will tell you. Like, if you're not getting business, then you're not worth that much. Like your service at least is not perceived to be worth that much. So I think it has a lot to do with like what we do primarily is around brand, which is about differentiation. So if you can't differentiate yourself from other brand strategists or other designers or, people in your space, then you're just a commodity, right? And then you have to sell on time. So I think it's about differentiation and really creating a brand for your business so that people know, oh, I want to work with Eric or I want to work with Frankie because they've done this and this type of work, and they've heard they've seen referrals or your case studies or whatever, and so for them, like that translates to, okay, that makes sense for us because that's what we need.
For me, man, so I was talking about this a lot lately, and I know a lot of people probably aren't going to want to hear it, but I think design, for the most part, let's assume all design is equal, and we talked about that. It's a big assumption, but let's say it is. At that point, it's subjective, right? And even within good design, there's designs that you love that I don't like, and there's designs that I love that you guys don't like. So that's why I know, Church of Dough, Future and stuff, that's why we always anchor ourselves in strategy, right? Because you can measure those things. They're not subjective decisions. With that said, I think the market is going to dictate the worth, right? Like if you become, like Dave was saying, if, I got 5 people that want my time and I can only realistically manage 3, then I, up my price and people are going to pay it, then, I'm going to charge it because the work is worth that. I'm not going to just hand over fist, take money and just see how high I can go. But really for what I deliver and what they're going to get out of it, I think you can arrive at something that makes like logical sense. And another thing to consider is all the hats that you are wearing, right? Freelancer, solopreneur, call yourself what you want. If you're answering emails and you're doing bids and you're doing the work and, you're doing customer service, these are all like jobs that agencies, like different people normally have, right? So if you're doing all these different jobs, you should be compensated, somewhat. You're creative directing, you're, doing whatever. I have like a little list that I put together of like annual salaries of like typical jobs in an agency. And then that's how I figured out my blended rate. I added all those salaries together, like mean level for San Diego. And then I divided it for each person's like hourly rate. And then I like added that up and made like a blended rate. So that's how I figured out my blended rate. And then I price my projects according to what I think they're worth. So I have a price, like I know for the project, like if you want identity, it's X. But if it's something that I don't know how long it's going to take and I'm just kind of taking a stab at it, that's what I'll go off of.
I think I would want to see that. That sounds pretty interesting. Like the actual formula that you're putting together, because I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I was just saying really quick.
Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, what were you saying, Zach?
I was just saying in general, like have some kind of math behind the reason why you want to earn what you're earning. Blended rate's definitely a good approach. It could be what's your burn rate and how much profit you want to make. But if you have some kind of North Star in in metrics, that's going to help really guide your rate more than just like, oh, it's $10,000 strategy and tomorrow it's 100,000. Just basing in some math and some numbers, and I think that'll help go a long way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would just say base it on your goals, which is like saying the same thing, really.
Yeah. Have it based on something. Shouldn't be random.
See. Yeah, Frankie, I think people would want to see how you come up with those numbers. if you can like put that together later.
Sounds like a resource.
Oh yeah, you want to mention
yeah,
that?
we haven't really talked about that, huh?
Eric, you should screen share and bring up the site and show everybody what you built.
Yeah, sure. I can. Let me see if I could screen share that. Can I share just like one screen?
Yeah,
I can. Okay, all right.
It's a big.
Let me know if I need to release your
client calls.
I don't know.
If you guys haven't noticed already, we put together a website for the SemiPro stuff. Any resources that we talk about or just recaps of the talks that we have, they're probably going to go up on there. Let me share my screen real quick so you guys can see it. Can everyone see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the site. Yay, SemiPros. Yeah, we built this out. These are little Peanuts characters versions of ourselves. And you can catch the latest show. So when we're done with today's show, I'll put it up on here too. You can come down here. We have these resources here. Frankie put up his keynote for his crafting your copy thing. So you can check it out right here. We'll be putting random stuff on here. I think I was planning to put up like a list of the books that we talked about last week on here too, and links to purchase it. We'll just generally be putting just free stuff on here all the time. And if you guys want to actually be on the show and talk with us, yeah, you guys can come down here and just tell us what you want to talk about and your name, and then we'll kind of filter through it throughout the week and see like, oh, this is a good topic of conversation, and we'll bring you on. And in exchange for your time, I'll render you out in one of these nice little characters. Yeah. So let me just show you what it looks like.
Through the email too, though.
Yeah, we're gonna send cool stuff through like the email and the newsletter. If you see here, yeah, this is Frankie's thing. You could download the keynote. I'll take you to our Dropbox, and you can just get it for free. It's all free, guys.
Frankie's always worried about how he's supposed to help us with this thing, and he's like literally making downloadables. So
yeah, so we'll be sharing more stuff on there. I'm gonna put together some stuff for design too, and yeah.
And Eric designed this whole thing, by the way, guys. Like one night he was just like, "You guys, I have this idea. I think it's really good. I'm gonna show you tomorrow." We're like, "Okay." And he's just like, "Boom, check this shit out." It was awesome.
Mo's asking what I'm using for the newsletter. We haven't decided on the actual software yet because Mike hates MailChimp.
Yeah, MailChimp screwed me not too long ago.
Yeah, so we don't know what we're gonna use yet. But I might just end up using it anyways and not telling him. So
hey, whatever, dude. If you want to use it, that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
How we're gonna use it, it'll probably just be great. But what I tried to do, it was upsetting.
We don't have to go down that road if you don't want to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we kind of reached the point where everyone's on the same page about that topic. I don't know. You guys have any closing thoughts on it? Because yeah, just to be clear, I want to tell everyone I'm not like going around doing $50 logos or like $1,000 projects, right? Like I ain't about that life, man. The reason why I ask is because a lot of people would bring that up. And I think I get a lot of like emails to our agency's, contact form, and people say like, I'm interested in a logo, and they'll quote me like $100 before I even say anything. And I'm like, I got to say no. And I got to explain all this stuff. And yeah, I've had this conversation more than once.
What was that, Zach?
I wouldn't even waste the energy responding at great length. I think, yeah, definitely respond, but like I wouldn't do any kind of explanation. Maybe just refer them to some sites that could, accommodate their needs. Because if they have $100, I don't want to like, look at them and think less of them because they only want to spend $100. There's plenty of platforms for the service. It's just, I just simply say that's not for me, because I don't want you all to spend $100 of your time explaining to this person through an email that you shouldn't be charging only $100, or they should only be paying $100 for a logo or something like that.
Well, I don't respond like saying like F you, get the hell out of here. I always try to
say get the heck out of here.
Yeah, no, I try to help as much as I can, but without like committing anything. So I'll just tell them like, hey, you have $100, you could check out Fiverr, man.
Exactly.
Guys, I love Fiverr. It just ends the
Nothing wrong with
conversation.
I'll tell you what, man, like my wife, dude, she's a rock star, and like she always like tells me I commit too much time, like here and there, like because you just don't realize you're doing it, right? You like sign up to do this and you volunteer for that, and you're talking to this person. 5 calls later, you're like, oh my god, I haven't done anything today, and my list is twice as long. So like to your point on those emails, when I know and I can sniff it out, and someone if they say something like oh $100, like one, I know that's my fault because maybe I look like a dude that's doing $100 logos, and I need to change that. I need to change that perception. And then the second thing, I throw that number out there as fast as possible. I'm like, oh no, actually, identity is, let's, $5,000. But before that, we normally do a discovery, and that's around $10,000. Does that blow you out of your chair? And then they're just like, and that right there, you can like, yeah, that's, pretty much what I do. You kind of feel it out, like Zach said, and then sorry, like, that just is what it is. But I think, wasting time there, we're talking about giving things away for free. Like you can't forget that your time, like 30 minutes to respond to an email, 5 of those emails, like you're losing a ton of time.
Yeah, I don't do anything over email like that. It's usually always over the phone. So at least it's a little quicker.
Yeah.
But usually when I have those conversations, I actually come away, like I'll try to only max myself out at like 15 minutes total, maximum. But I usually come out of those feeling really good because I do give them a little value in that call, even though they can't afford me. It's fine. They're usually like extremely thankful. And then, they'll say, we'll call you about something else later if we can or whatever. And they're starting to come back now. So it's pretty cool. Actually, it does work. Those little guys.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, obviously don't be a jerk to them, but, they're going to appreciate it too if you don't spend an hour on the phone with them about something they can't really afford or they're not ready to spend the money on.
Right.
So should we bring on our guest for the evening?
Let's do it.
I'm excited.
Is he ready?
Wait, what did you guys say? I missed
let's find out
in the last conversation.
We have a guy on hold who's supposed to come on.
Julian, right?
Yeah.
He's I was just making sure you're talking about the same guy. I'm pulling up the chat now. And I will send Julian the secret Zoom link.
Yeah. You guys, if you want to talk about anything, feel free to drop it in the chat.
Frankie, send me the Zoom link because I Slack. I can't open it.
After we're done with talking with Julian, we're gonna probably just go through and see any topic of conversation.
Can I just add one thing? The 4 clients or prospects that contact you, and it seems like their business is doing well enough where you think that they could afford you, but they just don't see the value in going through discovery and or strategy. One of the things that's kind of worked for me is to do an abbreviated form of the strategy where you're just pinging off like a couple key things for them. So it's just bringing awareness to them about what you can discover going through this process and how those things are kind of key, how they can be key, elements to know about for growing your business and how they can help. So I found that sometimes helps. So there are people, again, like that I think can afford it. They just they're not used to putting that value to it. So that's one
I agree.
thing to throw out.
Sorry, I got a burp.
I agree too. I think also that's also like a practice run, right? Is he on?
Julian.
Oh shit! Sorry, I think I'm like lagging, guys.
Oh yeah, he's on. Oh, it's muted, dude.
I got all because I got all these, I got YouTube going, Twitch going, Facebook going. I got the Zoom chat with you guys going, and then I'm streaming out. So my internet is like tapped out right now.
I'm on hotel Wi-Fi, guest Wi-Fi.
I just got too much going on this thing.
Yo,
my laptop is steaming.
What's up, Julian?
Man, what's up,
boys?
What's up?
Well, I'm trying to mute. I'm hearing like 2 audios. I gotta mute one of them.
Yeah, you gotta mute the Facebook.
Yeah.
Mo said he put this into the universe and his soul is ready.
Well, can't argue with that.
Oh wow, yeah, he's a good guy.
All right, boys, what's up?
Ready? What's up?
How's everyone doing?
Good, man. How are you, dude?
Doing good.
I'm doing good, man. Honestly, I'm doing good.
I didn't make the connection when we talked last week on the live that you were like Juju from Instagram.
Yeah, I
And
noticed
was
you
like,
changed
yeah,
your
that's awesome.
Instagram. I noticed you
Yeah,
changed your
yeah,
Instagram
yeah.
icon to be your face, and I was like, "Oh, I recognize you now." So that was probably a good move that you did that.
Yeah, right? I think so.
Yeah, you guys
So
can
what's
follow
up,
him.
dude?
He's at Juju_FX on Instagram.
Plugging in.
Yeah.
Hey, so how'd it go with the client that you were talking about last week?
Honestly, it went freaking amazing. I used a lot of the tips that Frankie was mentioning and you too, Eric. And yeah, it was phenomenal.
That's
What,
so sick, dude.
So walk us through it a little bit. What exactly would you say was valuable, and what helped you? Maybe how did you do a better job than maybe you would have prior to hearing us talk or whatever?
Oh,
Yeah,
and also,
so-
can you give us a recap of what the issue was in the first place?
Yeah, so basically for me, it was how to like present value, because it's always tied, present value to the client. And I was having issues of like how to properly do that. And then Frankie made the point of just ask the right questions and the value will just present itself. And I reflected on that. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I went in and I just asked the right questions. And I would go to like a meeting with like a framework of questions, and like it would get so like, I guess like robotic in a sense. And in this meeting, I just went to like, 3 questions, like the 3 whys. And then after that, it was just like, I flowed into it and just asked questions. And she was like blown away at the value that I was presenting. And she was like ready to move forward like instantly. So it was pretty awesome.
Dude, that's awesome,
so
man.
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Hey, can
Thank
you,
you.
are you allowed to share any of the insights that you actually gathered from your talk with her, or is it like all NDA? You can't share anything.
I don't know, actually.
I mean,
don't.
That's a no. I would
Hey,
say
only 15 people are watching this. It's no big deal.
Wait, no,
It's
I
like a
mean,
massive deal to us, but
I just want to know like maybe
Yeah,
a practical thing that might have came up.
Yeah, so for me, I guess one of the things for her was like she didn't know who she was actually targeting. And when I asked her the questions on that, where it was like, demographics, psychographic and stuff like that, she was like really confused and also super interested at the same time. And I guess that was like a big point of, because like she told me, oh yeah, like, I want to target, the classic everyone kind of thing. And when I told her like, that's probably not a good idea. And then like I went into it and yeah, she just like, was kind of like mind blown about it. So it was pretty awesome.
Hey, so when she said she wants to target everyone, how did you respond to that? Wait, we could role play this. I'll pretend to be the client. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna be the client. You said it. All right. So I'm coming in. I'm gonna pretend I'm gonna. Okay. Hey, Julian. So like,
Why are you good at this?
we're trying. I want my business to grow, but like, I can't just target like specific people. What if I lose out? Like, how do I know who to get? I just want to get everyone, don't I? Isn't that the best idea?
Is it?
you're gonna get me too, man.
Well, yeah.
Tell me more. Why? Why do you feel like it is?
Well, I mean, if you put out your net into the sea, you don't want to just put a small net or only catch tuna. I want to catch all the fish.
But don't you want to catch the right fish?
What
The fish that
What
are
do you
gonna
mean by the
relate
right
to you?
fish? All right, I'll drop the voice. Wait,
Yeah. You gotta
what do you mean by the right fish?
The fish that are going to relate to your business rather than the fish that are going to not relate to your business, I guess.
So okay, so tell me what kind of fish is right for my business. How am I going to figure that out?
By going deep and figuring out who your target market is.
Okay.
Through a
Is
set of-
there? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, is there like a practical way we could find that information out?
Yeah. So basically, we would sit down and do what's called, I guess, a strategy or discovery session. And we would go through everything what your business is about, your culture, your X factor, etc. Sorry, man, I'm on the spot here. And then, yeah, so basically we would go through the insights on what your business is about and how we can properly relate to your target market.
Okay. I mean, that all sounds good, but how do I know that it's going to have a tangible impact? What at the end of the day is going to, you know, how do I know it's going to affect my bottom line? Like, is it
That's a good
actually going to
question.
make me money? Can you guarantee that?
You get Eric a wig.
That's a good question, actually. Lifeline. Gotta make a call to Frankie.
Honestly, like I think I asked this question because it is a hard question. And
Yeah, it is.
Maybe not every client would respond like that. But if I was a business owner, I would say, hey, I'm going to give you like $10,000. How do I know that $10,000 is going to end up making me more than that investment I'm putting into you? Like that's the value, right? You have to be
Right.
able to say, I will bring you more money than the $10,000 you're giving me. So how can you promise that to me?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
Frankie, you can sub in.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'm
the
gonna write this
question
down.
is,
Mo too. We got
How?
Mo in here now too. He's at the
Oh,
bottom
Mo's
of the
in
Brady Bunch down there.
is he in the actual call?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't
Oh,
tell.
Oh,
Mo.
yeah, I see you. What up,
What's
Mo?
up, dude?
So on your
What's
Zoom,
happening,
click everyone view or whatever to the top right because see how I have everybody's face
Yeah.
all at once. Yeah,
We got a Brady Bunch going on here.
yeah, we're missing
So,
two
Mo?
people though.
Dude, the beard game in this room is crazy. I just want to get out there.
Yeah, man.
Crazy.
Been growing this for a week.
Yeah, Zach is looking thicker, even thicker than normal, which is just like, come on, dude,
Getting pretty intense.
take it down a notch, man.
You guys can feel free to chime in on the question too.
Oh, right.
I'm finishing up these notes. We
I
gotta
think
take the-
you have to ask the client what their goal is. Like try to discover what are they trying to do? Why did they contact you? Are they trying to, raise their revenue? That's their goal. Like they want to double their revenue next year. And what's that number? Is it $1 million? Then $10,000 is too little, right?
Mm.
So, and then if they ask if you can guarantee, then you say, yeah, I can guarantee it if you pay me the $1 million. Because if you want to guarantee, then you have to pay what you're going to get back, right? So when you're quoting, whatever, $10,000, $50,000 for that, you're discounting for risk, right? So, and that's up to them. Like, how comfortable do they feel? How good of a deal is this for them if they pay $50,000 and the upside is $1 million? That's a big upside, right? So even if they made half that, they're 10xing their investment. So I think if you frame it that way, then it doesn't seem like they're paying so much.
Okay. So my response to that is if I want to raise my rate, my income, my revenues for about, let's say 20% this year, I think that's like a feasible number if you know how to do your job, right? What are some ways that you can actually practically do that for me? Like, what are the steps that we can do to get there? Like, how would you pivot?
Well, we'd have to figure out what's the problem. Like, why aren't they able to make that 20%? Why haven't they been able to do that the following year? And you have to diagnose their business. You have to look deep into their business and figure out what is it? Is it a broken website? Is it that they never no awareness? They don't know how to market? Is it I don't know? Is it like human resources? Like people, they don't know how to hire people, the right people. It could be anything, right? So I think you have to. It's hard to do it in a 30-minute call.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to ask some questions like, what sort of problems have you encountered? What do you think it is? I think most business owners or, people who are running businesses kind of have a sense of like, this is where we're hemorrhaging. This is where we're weak. So then you'll get a sense of what you're trying to fix. And not everything is, you got to rebrand. That's not, that's not the solution to everything.
Yeah. And
So if you don't,
point, I just want to say real quick.
Go ahead.
To Dave's point, I went to a small business roundtable in my town a couple weeks ago. There was probably 12, 14 small business owners. And I was like blown away by the things that they didn't know or have ever heard about. Because I'm just here assuming, everybody knows about email marketing and doing social media and like all of this, what I would call basic stuff, and what everybody that I talk to and the circles that I'm in is like real basic stuff. But yeah, there's so many businesses out there that just are totally lost in like what they could be doing for barely any money that would boost them like crazy. So yeah, there's always like a crazy amount of ways to help businesses that I come in contact with locally anyway.
I think to Dave's point, yeah, I wouldn't have taken the bait. I'd like to think I wouldn't have taken the bait, because if you can tell someone in a 30-minute, hour phone call that, hey, I know what the problem is and I can definitely guarantee you that I'm going to fix it in an hour. Let me know what you're doing. That's the whole reason we talk about strategy, right? That is strategy to me, essentially, discovery. That's why you do it. If you could just skip it. If you knew what the problem was, and you could go right to work, right? Why do all that extra work? So I guess in my case, if someone asked me, oh, can you guarantee return on my investment? I would just tell them, no, not right now, but I can guarantee you that, nothing's going to happen if we don't do discovery. And then like I would explain the process of like, this is how we figure out the problem, and this is how we move forward. And like we said, if you're losing, I don't know, consistently, however much, like, oh, we're down 5%, we're going to be down another 10%. It's like, well, then, you're just going to stay there, I guess. Like, obviously don't say it like that, but they're going to stay there and they're not going to know why. At least if you can help them figure out why, then you can actually start fixing the problem, and you can talk about how much that's going to cost. But I think you're setting yourself up for failure. Any of us would be trying to make some kind of guarantee before you even like look under the hood,
I like you, Frankie. You got the job. Hey, no, that being said, what you said in response, like saying no, like I can't do that. I think that's critical. Like being able to tell someone that you don't know everything in the world, right? That gives them a sense of confidence when you do say that you know something. So we can't always be looking for an answer when we're talking to our clients. That's not what they want. They want someone to actually partner with,
I'm going to tell you. No, go ahead, Zach, please.
I think from my experience, and even Chris has talked about this a little bit, they want someone that's going to listen to them, before anything else, especially if you're going in as a strategist first. It is like kind of like business therapy to them, from my experience. So the best sessions I've ran there were opportunities for them to really kind of be heard, because I think their experiences typically with designers is designers are coming in like, nope, you need a logo. I heard you, but I'm going to give you a logo. I'm really going to give you a logo. That's all I'm going to do, kind of thing. And they're looking for a fresh perspective, at least when they come to us, and they know that, on our first sales call, because I'm asking all the questions and I'm just like genuinely listening, they're going to get a different kind of experience than they're probably used to. So kind of like to sum all that up, you don't have all the answers. You don't, because you don't, and just listen. And if you really are listening, you're going to actually partner, as you guys mentioned, to get that best solution with the client, rather than them coming up with the answers or you coming up with the answers. If you're working together to create the best solutions, those are the great workshops, and those are the best results from my experience.
There's and Chris talks about it in his Overcoming Objections course, but I just listened to audiobook, Never Split the Difference, right? And some of the techniques in there, mirroring, you probably know. And one of the major techniques in negotiation, silence, man. Literally, people, they don't know how to deal with it, and they will vomit more information.
Yeah, dude, you're so right.
Like if you tell me, hey, Frankie, can you guarantee me, that I'm going to get, my 10K back? And I look at you and I go, Julian, can I guarantee you? And then just sit there and wait. Like,
just never answer the question.
Probably not to the point where you're just not the 40-year-old virgin, like to where you're like, I don't know. And then like you get a date, but like, if I like, you will elaborate, because if you just think about what you did there. Can you guarantee it? Now what happened? You felt obligated. You felt obligated to give an answer. And like Zach said, you're not there to talk. You're there to listen. So listen. Just always be focused on listening.
If you're doing the most, if you start to catch off, Frankie, but if you're doing the most talking in the room during a sales call or a strategy workshop, you are failing. Just a strong opinion there, but you're not getting the job done. You should not be doing the majority of the talking during a sales call or a workshop or a meeting or whatever.
What's the goal that you guys put yourselves in before a sales call? Or do you even have one? Is it premeditated, or are you guys just like, the way it goes is bueno for me regardless?
For me, I want to kill the deal.
Kill the engagement 3 times.
I literally will go in there, I want to know without a doubt that this person needs what I'm offering, that I like them, and that we want to move forward. I don't want to get into some like engagement where I think that I could help, but like I might not be the right fit. And then I get into this like weird thing, right? Or I find out 2 weeks later that I misunderstood the situation. So I try to just get all the questions out that I need to ask, and listen as much as I can to their problem, and then figure out like, okay, is this something that I'm equipped to help with or not? And I guess a job at the end. Right?
Oh no, we're just all being silent.
No, I'll echo that.
I was about to play the music.
Well, I think to tail back to what Eric was asking in the beginning is just sometimes you find yourself in a difficult spot when the way in which you enter the conversation with the client is based on where you're at in your business and on a personal level, right? So it's really easy for a lot of people to hear conversations, whether it's on the future or here, and say, to hear I want to kill the engagement is almost foreign to some people, because it's like, why would I want to kill an engagement that I want to get paid for, especially if this is something that I enjoy doing, or this is something I know where I can solve the problem. So where do you find the balance where I want to kill the engagement, but I also want to build that level of rapport and trust with the client, you know?
Maybe kill the engagement is an aggressive way to say, I just want to make sure that I'm the right fit. If somebody showed up at my house and was like, or, you know, my place of business, or called me on the phone and was like, dude, man, I really need to rebuild my engine. Like, I'll give you this much money. Like, I don't know how to do that, man. I don't know I can help at all. Like, I don't want to take this person's money. I'm gonna get myself into trouble. I have a different situation than a lot of people. And I know we're under the assumption that someone is coming to you for design work, right? But this is the thing that kills me. And this is the difference between like strategist and then like pixel pushing, right? Like, you're not going to take the orders. You want to do the thinking. You want to solve a bigger problem. When you want to move into solving big problems or that kind of space where you charge more, your ego has to leave, and the whole the designer mentality, even if you are doing the design work, you have to kind of like put that to the side and understand that you can't take, you know, every job maybe that flies at you, because, you know, you just might not be the person that's qualified to handle that. I get that a lot, to where I don't have the answers. Like, I've went to Mike, to Eric, to everyone in my semi-pro group, because I don't know. I know strategy really well. I can facilitate, I can do, but there's a lot of things I can't do. And if I don't feel like I can deliver for that client, that's going to kill me. I'm going to take a job I'm not going to deliver well. And then that's probably going to hurt my business more than it is, you know, going to help it.
Yeah, I agree with that. My old boss at the agency I used to work at, he started off his business just by accepting every job. And like, even if he didn't know how to do it, he would just learn on the spot. And he would be like, you know, I'll figure it out as I go. And it worked out for him. But let me like put that into perspective, because he charges as an agency around $65 an hour. And everyone hears that like, what the hell, right? And then
that's bananas.
But this is real. And because of this, all the designers that work there, as soon as they get more confident and become like good enough to execute and solve their own problems for clients, you know, or themselves, whatever, they just leave. And so the turnover there is crazy. Like, people leave 3-6 months in and then just bounce. And the thing that doesn't make sense is, and also like, this is the reason why I never ever do hourly work, is they bill per hour. Now, that doesn't make any sense. Like, we had a junior designer there, and from the lenses of someone who owns a business, I would look at that and say, okay, we charge people $65 an hour, right? Already kind of small. But he says, oh, you know what? This is the rate that clients are willing to pay. And I say, no, it's not. You haven't even tried to talk about it. But if they're paying $65 an hour and my junior designer is getting paid like, by the way, the junior designers are only getting paid like $20 an hour, right? Yeah, everyone's just like, oh my God. But that means the longer she takes on her work, the more that it works out for our business. And anytime someone comes along that's efficient, we can't really award them with anything, and we can't give them higher pay, and there's a cap on it. So yeah, man, like if you really feel like, I don't know how I got to this, but if you really feel like you can't do something, right, you just really have to kind of look at that and say like, or approach it with humility and say like, I don't know how to do this, or either find a way to solve that problem for them, and then just charge higher. Because if you do what my boss did, where he just says yes to everything, and then you get stuck in a situation where you're just hiring, inadequate work, and you're charging a rate that's not fair, then your business can't scale. People are going to leave. Like, it's really bad, because the actual agency is nice. Like, the office is nice. They have nice things, but people hate it there. You know why? Because they're not getting paid enough.
And are you going to refund that money if you can't?
Yeah. See, they don't. Oh no, wait, they do.
What?
I'm saying as a person, right? Like, we're talking about that. Like, oh, I need to eat. Okay, you accept a job based on the fact that you're going to figure it out, and you can do that if you charge high enough. I believe that you can figure it out. But I'm going to take that off the table, because the whole premise of this conversation is that you need the money. So we're probably not in the position to be like, okay, yeah, 30K, and now I'm going to go figure it out. It's probably kind of like right at the cusp of like what you need to take. So you're already either making a concession or right at the threshold of like, man, this is like, I need this job. And then you're going to figure it out. So you're going to guarantee something that you're not confident in. And then if you don't deliver on the things that you promised without knowing the problem, or just the fact that you can't actually get it done, are you willing to give that money back? So then what position did you just put yourself in anyway? At that point, you may have spent the money or counted something before you even have it. So wouldn't it have been easier? And I know, again, I don't have the answer, and I'm not telling you one way or the other, but if you just didn't take the job in the first place, and then, or maybe referred someone else, that's why we're talking about collaboration. You refer someone else, then that extends your circle, right? And that's going to come back around when they do need your skill set.
Oh, wait. Silent spot?
Hey, I'm all on board about the collaboration stuff. Like, that's the reason why we're doing this, right? Because
you guys got logo work. Hit up Eric.
Eric's like 2 jobs and more. Because when I was a younger designer, I was like, I'm going to try everything. I'll learn it all. And then now that I'm in the game a little bit, I'm like, if it's not UX or product design, I'm not doing it. I will pass it to anyone that wants to do it. But yeah, every once in a while I still get hit up for like branding or logos. I'm like, no, I don't do that. I know some people that do. So yeah, I mean, learning it on the fly. I think it's maybe cool for younger designers, but
yeah, I like doing all the stuff, dude.
I do not.
I'm in a position where I need to actually start building. Hit me up. Whoever's watching this, hit me up, because I need, like, I got SemiPros, but I need like a list, a staff of like people I can just start like sending stuff out to, because I'm starting to primarily focus on strategy and problem solving and hierarchies and systems. So the more I can do that, the more I'm going to have to outsource everything else. So please give me a shout.
Alex says, for him, taking on the things that he has never done and figuring out how to do it as he goes has been a major career pusher for him. It's risky, but it works.
Sure.
I think it's important to be
for younger designers. I think it's good to try a bunch of stuff out, see what's working.
Hey, Mo, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say it's important to enter the engagement and the conversation if you haven't done it with transparency and honesty.
Yeah,
and let
absolutely.
them know that, hey, I'm a person who's gonna be able to figure it out because I enter everything from a problem-solving standpoint. And I have a network that's able to come in and help me out with these projects. So I may not be necessarily the person like touching the design or touching the media production or touching whatever UX or whatever it may be that we're doing. But I'm the person facilitating it because I was here with you from the beginning to understand what the problem was and go into it. And I think I'm a fan of experimenting when you're early on in your career, right? Because you may think that you know exactly what it is you want to do and what exactly it is you want to get into, but you taste something else and you're like, okay, I have a little bit of prowess here and I can really push the needle forward in this area. And I think it's important for me to kind of find a level of expertise here because I can bring some real value. So I think it's also dependent on where you're at in the stage of your career when you make that decision to go outside of where you're comfortable. But whatever it is you're trying to do for anyone, you have to go in it with a level of transparency, or you fall victim to what Frankie was saying, where you're at the end of the job and everyone's like, so we didn't hit what we were supposed to hit. What now? And they're like,
That's a good point. Like, we should enter every project thinking, how can we move the needle for this client, and accept according to that. I think that's a good baseline to think about.
Yeah, because if what you're going to do isn't going to move the needle, then they shouldn't be doing it at all. And it's like our responsibility to tell them that. Or I feel like it's my responsibility anyway when I talk to those type of people. Play the music again, or
I'm note taking.
Yeah. I think this is like a good spot to kind of.
Okay, actually, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
All right, we're not gonna end it yet.
I know.
Frankie was
too late.
Sorry, on a guest, and he barely got to say anything. So
Yeah.
be allowed.
Tune in next week. Sorry, no.
Okay, since Frankie just mentioned note taking, like when you go into a meeting with a client, right? Do you have a process of like a method of like taking notes, or is it just like write down as much as you can, and when you get home, it's like break it down?
Nah, dude. I just listen.
Listen, no note taking.
You probably should, dude. My advice is terrible here.
Yeah,
let's
for
rewind.
sales call, right?
Let's rewind.
Definitely take notes, because especially if the value level is high for the job, you're probably going to have more than one call, at least from my experience. So if you're doing like 40, 50, 60 and up, it's $1,000 project, you're not going to have like one call, send a proposal, and you're ready to go. It's going to be like 2 or 3 calls. So you have to have notes, so you can refer to in the second and third call as you're building the proposal. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Definitely take notes. And the way I do it, I would say I use Google Docs. I have my list of questions that I pretty much more or less ask in different ways on my sales calls, and I just fill it out via Google Docs is what I do.
Google Docs. All right.
Pretty simple. And then I have a questionnaire that I kind of customize on the fly, but I gotta stick to these guidelines.
Were you talking about the sales call or the actual like meeting?
I mean, either.
Call, right?
Oh, you're talking about him?
No, I was trying to clarify Julian's original question. I understood it as during the meeting, how do you interact with the client? Do you just listen, take notes, hire someone else to take notes, record? I think those are all options, right?
Recording, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
We record our sales calls too. I don't know about meetings or are we talking like all this is sales in general, right? Whether it's a meeting or a call.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we record our we really do in-person. We do every once in a while in-person meetings, but it's all sales calls for us for the most part, and we record all of them for sure. We go back.
Sweet.
I'm a fan of having it and not needing it. It's like content, right? If you're rolling, like not every shot is going to be the one, but if you don't have a bank to pull from, then I mean, you're shortchanging yourself. I'd rather throw a bunch of stuff away that isn't relevant than like sit there and kind of be behind the curve. So I definitely advocate for taking notes.
And you're note taking like the method, right? Because I find myself when I take notes, I'm taking the notes of the client, and then I find myself thinking, oh shit, like I don't want the client to let's say if it's a one-on-one meeting, like in person, I don't want the client to look at me just taking notes the whole time. You know what I mean? I want to like eye contact and like make sure like they know that I'm listening to them rather than just like, note taking. So like, do you have like a method that maybe like, like a process? I don't know. Just like, I don't know.
If you're in person, you can, record it. Like they were saying, like either with an audio recorder or, if you have like camera set up, if that's just like how you need to get down. I personally don't have a problem with taking notes and then looking up, because I'll write stuff down, but I write it very kind of abridged. So I just hit like wave tops. Okay, this, boom. And then when I hear something interesting, like I'll like draw a line or bracket. I'm like, okay, so you said this. What did you mean by that? Or is this what you mean? And they kind of give me a little more and I'll go back or whatever. So I don't write like dictation notes, more like just overhead stuff that I can go quick and then, go back and expand upon.
Yeah, to quickly echo that, it's like I treat the sales calls like strategy sessions in themselves. And I think it's kind of what you're getting at, Frankie, because you should be just summarizing, doing a lot of listening and doing a lot of summarizing and not like line by line dictation. And then you kind of do some follow-up questions, make sure you heard that right. Like I usually say, hey, if I heard this correctly, it sounds like you need X, Y, and Z, whatever. But those are kind of just, to confirm my notes basically. But a lot of listening, a lot of summarizing. That's how I usually take my notes. I do take notes in person too, and I have to do it in person.
I feel like when people see me actually taking notes, I feel contrary. I feel that they're like, wow, this guy is taking like hard notes in front of me. It's not necessarily like he's not paying attention. He's writing. Rarely do people show up with an actual notebook or, everything's digital, but you bust out a piece of, but I like that stuff. Like even when I start designing, I start with like pencil and paper and sketch first. I don't go right to the computer. But I will say, as far as scripts, because we talk about those a lot, you have your client call, whether the future has a good one, like I have like a modified one. I have guidelines, man, but and I believe in frameworks, but I never like 100% stick to it because every client is different.
Totally.
You can't assume that like, that's when you start getting into that, like they're not listening to me because you're like question one. Okay. And then like, regardless of what they say, question two, like I'm not afraid to break that and go somewhere completely different if it means that I'm going to get better information. I just make sure I hit the big things that I need to ask before the meeting is done.
Trigger warnings are also very helpful. So in the beginning of the meeting, just let them know like, hey, I'm 100% listening to you, but my head's probably going to be down and I'm going to be taking notes. And I want you to know that I am fully attentive and that's not me coming off disrespectful. And you can even be quirky with it and just know that if my head's down and I'm looking at a pad, that we don't have a problem to solve, but that trigger warning, just like at the beginning of a movie, if you like have epilepsy, hey, and some shots in this movie cause seizure, and you're like, oh, okay, well, let me step away. But when you tell them that in the beginning, they feel like you're showing them a level of respect because you're already being proactive with how the engagement's going to happen. And that's just that's a strong tool for me that's been used before.
Music.
Zach, how do you run sales calls as mini strategies?
Again, it all starts with questions and coming in without any assumptions and any pre-prescribed solutions. So a lot of my questions are geared towards like, obviously we get UX and product, because that's how we're positioned as an agency. So, we already have an idea what the deliverables are going to be. So we kind of just immediately go into collecting data and asking the, key questions, based on goals, based on user personas already. So we're kind of having a mini strategy session that way by kind of taking some elements of like core and the design sprint, some other frameworks, and then bringing it into our sales questions just to get them in that right frame of mind just to begin with. With questions. That's a short answer. Ask a lot of questions.
Woo!
See? Did you see what happened when we were silent?
Yeah, I got uncomfortable and made noises.
Trust me, I can talk my head off if you wanted to, but I don't want to.
Exactly.
I think we need to do a 2-hour special with Mo.
How are we feeling, guys?
You better speak that into the world.
How are we feeling?
Well, I'll probably jump off pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
No, It's up to you guys. Who are we losing? We're losing Zach.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna hop off. I'm the old man.
Me too.
Off.
Okay, and Eric. Okay. Well, did you guys want to have any like parting words or anything or?
No,
For Wakanda.
Great group.
Thanks for having us all. Thanks for having the non-semi-pros on the semi-pro call.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Didn't you read the website, man? We're just like you. We're all
My key light is dying, actually. Slowly. It's dying out.
It's a sign from the universe.
Yeah. We should start wrapping it up.
Yeah,
All right.
let's wrap it up. We got next week, right?
Yeah, so we're going to do this again next week on Sunday, yeah?
If you guys want to be on the show, please just send a message to the site. It's there.
Yeah.
So Eric can start drawing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thanks, Rachel, Alex, Angel. You guys were blowing up the chat the whole time, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate
guys.
that.
There's a bunch of
Love
other
the
people
support.
like way at the top, but they were like dominating it for sure. Brandon. Well, that's awesome. I think we had a peak of like 20 people, so that was pretty cool. All right, so I'll cut the stream and put up the cool card that Eric made.
Yeah.
And the music, I hope.
Yeah.
All
Any
right.
last words from everyone?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Honestly,
Thanks, y'all.
really appreciate it.
All right.
Wakanda forever.
Where's the microwave?